Well, Tasha and Russell, they both love reading books. Tasha and Russell, they both love reading books. Well, what do you do when you share
Welcome
such
to the
love? Well, you
118th
start
episode
a
of the
club, you
ABC
start a
Pod, the
club, an
Adult Book
adult book
Club with
club,
Taja
an
and
adult
Russell.
book
I am Russell. She
club.
is Taja.
And a
Hey there.
Hey, and welcome back, everybody, to the
podcast.
podcast where we drink and we read things. And on this episode, we read Katabasis by R.F. Kuang. But before we get to that, it has been 3 weeks, folks, and this will be a reoccurring theme for this short time here. So be prepared for that. But we are back. We have stories to tell. Taja, what has been going on in your life?
Not a whole lot. We did the Jersey Christmas thing. It was great. Celebrated with Barry's family. The Christmas that we didn't do in Christmas time. We went to medieval times. It was great. The kids had an awesome time. And then the weekend after that, I went to New Jersey with my parents to almost exactly the same region for my great uncle's memorial. So I got to see some family I haven't seen in like over a decade,
Oh, wow.
longer even. Um, so that was really great. We've done some adulting. We had some electrical work done in our basement last week and still haven't been invoiced for it. So like fingers crossed, we got some free electrical work. Um, and we relocated our Asian pear tree in the lawn. I've started my Dragon Con crafting and I've made a little
Oh, no way!
so I want to give this to Ben Browder at Dragon Con because he was just announced and that's so exciting.
I mean, you have to make an 1812.
I don't know that I can. It's the three. I'm gonna try.
Three colors.
I literally just made this morning. I didn't follow a pattern. I made it up. So if
That
I can
is
refine it,
so good.
thank you.
And like
If
I
I
knew
can,
immediately what it was. Like immediately.
good.
Yeah, so good. It's
Good.
a DRD for all of you
Oh
on
yeah.
YouTube watchers.
Sorry. For the listeners out there, I've made a diagnostic repair droid from Farscape. And yeah, hopefully I'll have enough of these to give to the Scaper Suite friends as well.
Nice.
If I'm starting early enough that I have some faith in my skills. So
Yes, this is the new thing. We're trying not to procrastinate.
trying not to procrastinate. I also have a cart full of badge ribbons that we need to discuss
Nice.
at a not podcast time. Um, and yeah, so planning ahead is my goal for this year's TradCon.
Nice.
And I'm
Smart.
starting now.
Same. I mean, I have to get through spring fling, but once I'm through spring
Fair.
fling, we're gonna focus on Dragon Con and cosplaying and everything else. So we'll see how it goes. But that's really exciting. It was funny again with the time difference being in Rwanda, seeing that come through and all the excitement. I was like, oh, this is exciting. Hopefully they announce more Farscape people. I know it was like Stargate.
It was Stargate people, but Claudia's also a Stargate person, so we're
True,
holding out hope. But I
true.
know she also hates Atlanta, so
Also true.
fingers crossed.
Yes, and bring back Lonnie anyway.
Oh, yes.
It's my
And
best friend.
Rebecca.
And Rebecca. They're all my friends. They're all my friends. You're my friends too.
Look,
Uh,
it's Rod.
For me, obviously, the last 3 weeks has been dominated by Rwanda. Taj and I were talking about it before we started recording. I think I took 40 minutes of her life. I'm going to try to condense this down to 5 minutes. I will say, if any of this interests you, if you go to Ubaka U Rwanda, it's UBAKA space U space Rwanda. Google that. It's the first thing that comes up. I wrote a blog for this. It's not up yet. I'm not in control of that, but it will be up soon. So that will give you, as Amanda said, way too many words of a detail of our trip. I will say, as part of trying to get better at it, I'm going to try to write more for that website between travels because I think it's really important the things that we're doing and people should get to know these kids. For those of you just jumping into this random episode and haven't been with us the whole time, basically myself, my wife, and my best friend from childhood, we travel to Rwanda every year and work with this charity that deals with helping street kids have a home and get them into school. We cover all their school fees. We get them uniforms. We pay for their food at the house. We give them shelter. All this stuff. It's right now we have 21 boys living in the home. The home is run by a man named Avod, who is a Rwandan, and his wife, Becky. and they take care of the boys as well as their family. Right now, Avode is dealing with a lot of health issues. He is dealing with kidney failure. He is on dialysis 3 times a week. It's a really big deal. So we're setting a lot of prayers for him and getting to spend time with him. It wasn't as much as usual because of everything he's going through. Like there is literally a thing called Rwandan time, which means everything takes longer. So
Mm.
if you go out to lunch or dinner, expect 4 to 5 hours. Like that's Rwandan time. So he does dialysis 3 times a week, and it's 4 to 6 hours, maybe more.
Wow.
So it takes a lot out of him. He was still recovering. He had been in the hospital with pneumonia about a month ago because of complications of all this stuff. So unfortunately, we didn't get to spend as much time with him as usual, but the time we did get to spend with him, he's still full of character, full of love. Like it's incredible the amount of his life he has given to these boys. And at this point, I think there's been over 100 that have come through the door in his lifetime. Like at one point early on, before we were involved, it was just like him and like 40 to 50 boys underneath a single, like in a single room. And he
Wow.
couldn't really offer them much, but he offered them a place that was safe to stay. And like that's the kind of person we're dealing with. So thankfully, while we were there, he got some good news. It sounds like his sister, one of his sisters, is going to be able to donate a kidney to him,
Oh,
uh,
that's so great.
which is exciting. The whole process of transplant is new in Rwanda. I think it just started last year, and it's
Wow.
overseen by like foreign doctors.
Wow.
So he's still got some boxes to check before he gets on the list for the next time the doctor comes. So we don't know
Oh,
what that will be, but hopefully we get some more answers in the next weeks or months here. Because,
yeah.
like I said, right now it's 3 times a week for the foreseeable future that he's on dialysis. So, um, you know, to have him in your thoughts for the boys for our trip. I can't get into all of it, but it was so incredible. And as I was telling
Oh,
Tasha, like our world is so bleak and kind of shitty right now, no matter where you live in it, no matter how you feel. I think we're all kind of on the same page that we could use some good news. And this trip has like given me so much love and happiness and kind of like rekindled that fire that was in me where I was definitely not feeling 100% going into this, and just spending time with these 21 boys and getting to just be around them. As I was like typing up the blog, I was just thinking of all these like little moments where there's so much time we spend there where we're not playing a game, we're not playing soccer or football or helping somebody. I was doing physics this week with 2 different boys because that's the level they're doing physics in not their native language, in English, and trying to figure out all this stuff. And I'm like reading with them as we try to figure out these things together. It's incredible the amount of effort that these boys put in to try to better themselves, and they know they're being given a great a chance here,
absolutely.
and that's all they're asking for. So just sitting with them, talking with them, having the language barrier, but English is their second language. I think now I know about maybe 36 Kinyarwanda London words. We're getting there, folks. I'm definitely going to try to boost that up before we go back again next year. But a lot of it's done through charades and talking, and especially with the younger boys, it's kind of it's facial expressions, and you're just
Mm.
feeding off each other's love and good vibes and pictures and whatever. So it's literally the greatest thing I do every year. I can't emphasize that enough for people that are like looking for something good that's happening. It's this kind of stuff. So the trip was incredible. The main thing we always try to do one big thing with the boys every year, give them a new experience they wouldn't have had otherwise. And we got this through a first time visitor, another man named Russell, great name, who has for years been talking about coming to Rwanda and wanted to bring the boys to Akagera National Park, which is the Rwandan safari area, because he talks about how when he was a child, kind of seeing animals really like inspired him. So he wanted to give that to the boys so they could see the animals of their nation. So we spent a day in the park seeing hippopotamuses and giraffes and rhinoceroses and elephants, and some people saw the lions, and it was just an incredible day. And I thanked Russell afterwards and told him, like, not only is this an experience for me, but to have this experience as with this group is such a beautiful moment. I had never been, Amanda, Sully, we had all never been to this park before, so we were seeing everything for the first time. and seeing it with the kids and seeing how they saw it was just honestly, it's one of those things I will reflect on for the rest of my life. And whenever we get together, we'll talk about that, both with the kids and with ourselves. And so to have somebody include me in that was such a surreal thing. So very powerful moments and just a lot of things that I'm incredibly grateful for. So again, if eventually, probably by the next time the podcast comes out, that blog will be up. I'll definitely put it into our like Instagram links and stuff like that when it comes up. But if you want to read more about it, there's other blogs from other years. This is something. This was Sully's 16th trip to Rwanda, and he took a couple years off because of COVID. So I think that's over 18 years or something like that. This was our fourth time going back. We plan on going back next year. So anybody who wants to know more can reach out to me. If you have my information, do it. If you don't, find me on Instagram. You've got our links right here. You can find the book club and send me a DM and we can talk about that because I could talk about these kids for hours. So it's incredible. So again, if you want to read more or check it out, it's Ubaka, Ubaka, Rwanda. Google that, you'll find it. So think I got that under 10 minutes. If not, sorry.
You could fast forward.
Yeah, I feel like I like didn't tell a whole ton of stories. It's just like, here's what's happening. But yeah, incredible stuff, incredible trip. And yeah, it's like it's so surreal always coming back. And just like going back to our day to day, especially for Amanda and I, where we don't have kids. So you go from 21 of them to none of them. It is a little bit of a shock to the system.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I have to do my due diligence for the band and let you know if you're in the Portsmouth area next Thursday, May 14th, they will be at Treeline Outfitters, which is a little brewery and like outdoor apparel combo. It's a cool place. It's where Sully and Soonish played their Christmas show this year. So they're going to be back there. It's acoustic, so they don't need the loud banging drums. But if you want to check out the band next Thursday, they'll be at Treeline Outfitters in Portsmouth at 6 o'clock. I may or may not be there.
I was like 2/3 of the band.
Yeah. Well, acoustic shows, it's smaller venues. But I'm getting some work done to the truck on Wednesday, so it depends on whether or not I have a truck, whether or not I go. So check them out and check us out. I posted some stuff from the trip on both my personal Instagram and the podcast Instagram. So if you want to take a look at any of that stuff, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube now at Adult Book Club 21. That's Adult Book Club, all one word, and then the number 21. Give us a like, follow, add, and subscribe. All those things the kids say. Whatever. Do that if you want. I'm doing all the hand motions. I'm super energetic right now as I'm trying to like get everything out and not fumble my words. So on that note, let's move back to the book, which once again was Katabasis by R.F. Kuang. God, I'm not gonna try to do better. So Katabasis is the sixth novel published by her and was released in 2025. Her debut novel is book one of the Poppy War series, titled The Poppy War, and was published in 2018. She began writing the book during her gap year at the age of 19.
Stop.
Hate that. So much talent. And it debuted before her 22nd birthday. After the Poppy Wars series, her next book was Babel, An Arcane History, which reached #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. That is one that Taj and I both read separately. Otherwise, we probably would have covered that for the podcast because that blew up everywhere.
Yeah, that was a big one.
She worked on Katabasis while working on her doctoral degree because, that's what people do at Yale, of all places. And the idea came from an offhand comment about academia being like hell. She also pulled from her husband's battle with Crohn's disease in her character building of Peter. The film option was picked up by Amazon a week before the book released, and a TV show is currently in development. That's for Katabasis. Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, that was a year ago, so who knows? Her next novel is titled Taipei Story and is set to release later this year and is the first of a 4-book deal she recently signed. This is definitely one of those situations where it's somebody who's like 9 years younger than me, a few more younger than Taja, and it's like
fucking killing it.
Kids, man, the kids are doing it. So on that note, Taj, if you want to read us the jacket, we will jump into the book.
Okay, I would love to, but the thing keeps switching on my phone.
Mm.
Sorry. I need it big enough. All right. Katabasis, noun, ancient Greek, the story of a hero's descent into the underworld. Alice Law has only ever had one goal, to become one of the brightest minds in the field of magic. She has sacrificed everything to make that a reality, her pride, her health, her love life, and most definitely her sanity. All to work with Professor Jacob Grimes at Cambridge, the greatest magician in the world. That is, until he dies in a magical accident that could possibly be her fault. Grimes is now in hell and she's going in after him because his recommendation is the key to her future and he could hold her dreams in his now incorporeal hands. Unfortunately, her rival Peter Murdoch has come to the very same conclusion. With nothing but the records of Orpheus and Dante to guide them, bundles of chalk to draw the pentagrams necessary for their spells, and the burning desire to make all the academic trauma mean anything, they set off across hell to save a man they don't even like. But hell is not like the storybooks say. Magic isn't always the answer, and there's something in Alice and Peter's past that could forge them into the perfect allies or lead to their doom.
Nice.
Dun.
Yes. Doesn't that sound interesting? Well, let's find out. So, before we get into our usual characters and setting, I wanted to touch on how quickly this book jumped right into our story. What did you think as we literally jump right into hell from, like I said, from page 1, but I think it's like page 5, we actually are in hell. It's insane. So, what did you think about how quickly we get right to it?
Well, so I thought that was like going to be the start of like a pretty fast-paced situation. It wasn't. I kind of like had not the same level of excitement, but it gave me it recalled Blood Over Brighthaven and how the beginning of that was like very like I mean that was a little more action heavy, but it was like intense and like shit was really happening. Um and that also kind of disappointed, but
Hmm.
in a little bit of a similar way. But yeah, I assumed the fast pace would continue, and um, I don't think I've ever accidentally fallen asleep or like gotten blurry-eyed as much as during this book.
That is fair. I had some of that too. I was blaming jet lag for it on both sides, but maybe not. For me, I think Dungeon Crawler Carl was like this too. Like, wasn't it very quickly that like the
Yeah,
portal opens up?
yeah,
So that was a good way to do it.
yeah.
I was extremely worried. And you bring up Blood Over Brighthaven. It did kind of feel like this could be a prologue. Like I wondered if
Sure.
chapter 2 was going to be like 6 months earlier or something like
Sure.
that. So when it wasn't, my main concern, it worried me because I was like, okay, we don't have I always think back to now, like a little thing I saw Brandon Sanderson say, where he's like, I've got my character, I've got my magic system, I've got my setting, like, okay, here we go. Like, I've got my conflict, whatever. And we're jumping into this, and I'm like, we've got nothing.
We know nothing.
Like, you have not explained your magic system. We don't know the relationship of these two people, other than they're like, academic peers that apparently don't get along. Like, we have none of the story here.
Mhm.
So my immediate thought was, if this isn't a 6 months later thing right away, we're going to get bogged down with flashbacks or,
That's smart. I didn't think that, but
yeah.
that's smart.
So on one hand, it's like, okay, this is crazy, but it did feel like we are basically jumping into the middle of Act One or the beginning of Act Two right off the bat, which meant somewhere Act One was going to come into play. And I will say, like, when she separated some chapters where it was like on paradoxes or on magic or whatever, where it was like in italics, that annoyed me because it felt like, again, you did this little cheap trick where it was like, we're going to jump right to it, but then also I'm going to put 5 pages in here to kind of explain the things that I skipped over.
Yeah.
So on one hand, you're like, oh, okay, this catches me off guard. It's refreshing. Let's see how it goes. On the other hand, it's like, oh no, this is a little bit old hat and it's not going to work out the way you think. And again, it reminds me of the Genesis of Misery. Like, we're jumping. I guess if you've read a lot of the things about hell, maybe this worked for you a little bit better. Having
Maybe.
read none of those, including Dante's Inferno, I was just like, okay, here we go. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the like on paradoxes and on whatever, like that feels, it does make it feel academic. So I guess
Yeah.
that's a little apropos of the situation. But it also, if you need to take like a break the fourth wall or like step aside and explain your magic system or whatever, then I feel like storytelling wise, something's gone amiss.
Yeah.
Um,
And I wonder if originally that was in the beginning and it was like, oh, we can't do this. We're losing everybody, or
Good
something.
point. Yeah.
It was something we touched on before we started, but like similarly in Babel, it does feel like she has a need to show off her research.
Yeah.
She
I
will
like how
always
smart she is.
she will always use the 5 point word. She will always like kind of give you more than you probably think, at least my experience, give you more than you think you need. Like I remember feeling that way with Babel. It was a little bit different because it was more like the
Babel, it
etymology
I was
of
like,
the
it
words.
applied. Yeah, it like made sense in Babel.
And it was I found that interesting. Like because
Yeah.
I never think of that. And sometimes when you learn the etymology of a word, you're like, oh, that makes so much
Yeah.
sense of why we use it that way. I've
Right.
never known that before.
Right.
Whereas this, I was like, I don't care about your pentagrams.
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about this in that other question, so I'm not gonna
All
get
right,
it.
so moving back to our regularly scheduled programming, our main character is Alice Law. So, what did you think of her as we got to know her?
I didn't really like her. I didn't really like her basically right up until the end. And even then I was kind of like, okay, you're all right.
Nice.
I found her to be, I wrote down a bit of a try hard, like, which is maybe ironic because like I am an overachiever kind of student. So I can relate, I guess, in that regard. But I found it really annoying that she was so um I don't know, she sort of seemed taken in or like drank the Kool-Aid of like the misogyny of the whole environment of Cambridge and obviously a product of the times, sure. But like she derided feminism and lesbianism and like all this stuff that just like turns me off of is supposed to maybe be a strong female lead. Yeah, I found her annoying and like her attitude about Grimes, or at least the one she puts out front, the one we learn first,
Mm.
is very icky, and very like Stockholm syndrome kind of thing. Just it gave me the ick with like her sort of glorifying eating disorders and using her, for lack of a better term, feminine wiles, which like I guess you use the tools you have in your belt, but I feel like she was doing it in a weird way, or her explanation of it, I didn't feel like a powerful way. It felt like a, I don't know. I don't know. I did, she was annoying.
The word I used, the first word I used to describe her was fragile.
Mm.
I think because we see she's warned by many, like, including her professor of her undergrad, when she talks about how she's going to
Cambridge.
Cambridge. Thank you, and wanting to want to have Grimes as her
Right.
advisor. He has like a fucking
Track record of,
yeah, a receipt many miles long.
yep.
And she's like, I'm gonna walk that tightrope where I'm gonna like flaunt it, but also not use it as far as I can. I'm gonna go right up to that line, but I'm not gonna cross it. But at the same time, she was also like, if he does not approve of me, my whole life is meaningless and everything is garbage. And why is he cold to me today? And like, I only grow in the light of his sun. Way too much.
Way too
Way too
much.
much.
And she, I like on the one hand, um, knew that she was this powerful like magician. She was very smart. She like knows that she is capable, and yet she still seeks this validation in such a way that like clearly the self-esteem is an issue, but then sometimes the way she was talking it isn't. And it was just kind of a confusing juxtaposition to kind of have all in one character.
and we see like as other people around them comment on how like Grimes was something when it was like he was like a great war magician, right?
Yeah.
Like he made great advancements back in the day. But and I was a little confused about what decade we were in.
I was thinking it was like 50s, 60s.
But she talks about like 80s music at one point too.
She does.
I thought so. I thought so. I don't know. I was very lost. I went through most of this book thinking it was present day, and
I could
then
have fallen asleep during some of it.
it definitely wasn't. Nice. So like people around her are being like that. He's still living off the laurels of that. Like he is not that man anymore, and he's just you're giving
You're
everything
hitching
something.
your horse to the wrong cart here.
Yeah, and still because he is this guy who it's like a war of attrition. If you
Yeah.
are the one who makes it through of the six or however many advisees he has, then yeah, you can get any position because people know that you will probably take as much shit as they can throw at you.
Right. It's not a good thing.
Keep going. Yeah, I don't think it's great. So I wanted so much more for her.
Me too.
And spoilers before spoilers, I will say her arc, I it was redeeming.
Yes.
Spoilers. So
Not
there
enough
was
for me to
that.
be like, I like this character, but enough
That
for
is
me to be
also
like,
fair.
okay.
That is also fair because I think another thing that was bogging me down here, to use a podcast phrase, I felt like we had not one but two Croatias here. Both with her relationship with Grimes, you could tell there was something that happened in the previous few months. And then with her relationship with Peter, there was something that happened that changed their friendship in the past years or whatever. Again, I think she had been with Grimes for 4 or 5 years out of the six, maybe three or four. The timeline on
It was
this,
a chunk of time, yeah.
yeah, it was definitely at least 3 years. I don't know. She said it was going to be six total. I think it was
Right.
3 years when Croatia happened, so I don't know if she's into four now or what.
Okay.
Because she was talking about just kind of putting her head down and I can
Yeah,
do the next
just
couple of
separating
years or
from the world.
whatever. But
Mhm.
that seemed kind of foggy as well. So there was a lot of like I don't know, like thunderclouds around her or something, like a lot of fog, murkiness, whatever you want to put,
Yeah.
where I just it reminds me of Olive. It reminds me of whoever else. I feel like all of our main characters lately, I've been like, I wanted so much more of this person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is frustrating. So yeah, I think
Agreed.
frustration hits her the nail on the head. So we'll move on. We have Dark Academia. That's who it was. Lennon. Lennon was also frustrating me. Speaking of Dark Academia, set at Cambridge and in Hell. I was wondering what you thought of the world she built, both with her version of Hell and the magic system that she created.
So I'm going to start with the magic system because that was the part of it that I did find interesting, at least in part. Obviously, I think the explanatory portions could have been presented differently, I guess, and that kind of did take away. But um, with the pentagrams and stuff being logic based, I was super interested because I actually was a student assistant for logical argumentation at Keene. So I was like really good at it. I know I don't remember any of it now because it's been quite a long time. But I always also found it funny because the first time I took a logic course, which was requirement for my communications major, the professor was like, "This is basically math," and I was like, "Oh, fuck." I'm screwed. So the irony that I was like actually really good at it because it didn't involve numbers at all. I think that's the biggest issue. Um, so yeah, I think that concept of like the logical argumentation portion of the magic was interesting. Um, but I can appreciate the sort of creativity behind that. And I like that it isn't like your kind of typical magical system that draws from sort of earthly powers or, that kind of thing. I like that it kind of just messes with reality on a logical scale, format, whatever.
I did enjoy that, and I enjoyed how there had to be reasoning behind the words you use, like
Yeah.
whether you wrote it in Greek or Latin
Right.
or whatever.
Right.
I thought there was a lot to that we could have explored more that
We
would have made
didn't
it.
really touch, yeah, it was very like surface level.
Yeah, and even their use of it, like we get into hell and we learn that like there's more, there's certain requirements in order to use magic there that's different than in the living world. And I feel like that becomes a crutch for us not really seeing much of it for quite some time,
Yeah.
which I think is good and bad. Like, okay, you're forcing the magicians to survive without that crutch. Cool. But also, you've like showed us this magic system
Cool thing, and then
literally
we
on the
don't get
first
to use it.
page and we don't use it. Okay, that's weird.
Yeah.
So I did want to see more of that. It did remind me of Academy of Liars, the idea of manipulating reality here, where they used persuasion and here you use
Yeah.
logic. I liked
Yeah.
this one better.
Yeah. This
It,
one was more convincing for
yeah, it
sure.
seemed to have more of a base to stand on, so
Yeah.
that was nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I just felt like we get the magic explained in those chapters of italics,
Right.
which is fine, I guess. But it just felt like I don't know. The delivery system for it felt a
I
little
agree.
weird.
I agree.
Um,
Um,
I wanted
and
more better than that.
for sure, for sure. I'm like conceptually cool idea, delivery a little less great.
Yeah,
Hell was like honestly a bit too normal. It felt like I don't know, it felt not as like otherworldly as I was expecting it to. Um, and often the stakes didn't feel high enough. Like the energy wasn't right for I feel like what was actually happening. Um, Sometimes it did, but then other times it was like, we're just going on a hike. Like
yeah, yeah.
and that kind of annoyed me because I feel like if you're in hell, I feel like that anxiety should be peak at all times.
Yeah, there should be no like cuddling under a blanket while we sleep.
Yeah.
We're not even gonna set a watch. Okay.
And like just the very minimal amount of bare necessities and like the sort of easy way out of the lembas bread and like the perpetual flask. Like obviously you're magicians. That perpetual flask makes sense. The lembas, sure. It's right offable. Um, but it did feel like it gave it less yeah, the stakes were the bar was set really low for hell, I guess.
And again, not having read the many things that she mentioned, the different like because that was one thing. She, I think, the author is like flaunting her own research by talking about the research, the books, and other
That
things
discuss
that
how.
Peter and
Yeah.
Alice had come across to like get ready for their trip. Didn't recognize any of them. Haven't read
No,
any of them.
and honestly, like besides Dante, I was like, she could fully be making these up.
Yeah.
Like it matters not to me, and I have no basis of reference, which like fine, it makes no difference from a storytelling point of view. Like I'm not gonna, I'm not bringing anything else to the table.
So for me, from like a pop culture aspect or whatever, like reference of hell, it always seems like it's more like the demons and the torturing and all that stuff. And like this was
Not
literally
that.
more of just like the dead souls working their way through. And I wonder if it presented it again. Her whole idea of going back of like hell, or academia is a bit like hell, seemed to
Hmm.
really drive the nail through this as they are on a campus for the first few
Right.
layers of hell and spoilers,
Well,
but when you get to the end you have to write a dissertation. So like I don't know if that was just because our two characters were so heavily embedded in academia or if that was for the same for everybody.
so initially, I had thought my interpretation of what was happening was that like hell was different for different people and that like their hell is so academic and it was basically like an upside down version of Cambridge because that's what their experience was. But then I was like, how are they meeting all like are all the people that the shades that they're meeting in hell in that same hell? Like, are there all these different hells, or is it the same hell that people are interpreting differently? And I was like, that would actually be more chaotic and more realistic to me to have a bunch of people there that are seeing vastly different things at the same time, being in the same space and seeing different things.
But to that point, I do remember now that we're talking about it. Peter mentioned that they needed some kind of like anchoring thing
Mm.
to like help their direction of where they're going, and she used that like plaque. And he did say like that might be confusing because the plaque is made of wood, so maybe you're anchoring to wood or something like that.
That
But
was
maybe,
the way that they were going to find Grimes, though, right? Yeah.
well, I think that was like because hell is so expansive that the idea was you use an anchoring point for like the part of hell you're aiming for. So maybe that's part of
Oh,
the academia. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
okay. I
Uh,
thought that that anchoring thing was like the sort of like
to find him
to
directly.
find him specifically, and he was like, but he doesn't really like care. That's not like a personal item. Whatever.
Right.
Matters not.
And then Peter even said he was like, maybe this is the wood it's from. So you're like in the
Right.
forests of hell or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Again, sometimes when you make it so smart and I'm a dummy, I'm gonna miss things for
Oh
sure.
yeah, I'm sure I missed stuff. There were
Uh
a lot of times where I was like, what is it? The trolls, the mountain trolls or whatever, like where there's that whole page in the Raymond
yeah, yeah.
Feist
The
book where I was
feisty
like, I
troll.
don't,
Yeah.
yeah,
Suddenly they're fighting. Where did this come
yeah.
from? I don't know.
Where, what
I
troll?
do I do agree with you that it felt more like a hike through a barren. Like it reminded me of if you've seen the if you can continue watching Shadow and Bone, right? Where they go into the whatever I forget the gap was called, where like the actual darkness was. You know when they're like sailing through that and it just seemed like it was all black and there was gray silt everywhere.
Yeah.
It was like that, except without the monsters attacking. Like that's what I pictured is them just walking 4 days 4 days, not just the number four, but 4 days and days through that kind of like silty abyss and being like, all right, I don't know, I guess we go this way.
I very much was picturing Mad Max Fury Road like landscape.
There, there, very similar. So yeah, and I don't know if it mattered, but maybe you would have got more if you understood what you were getting into. I don't
Yeah,
know.
in terms of like hell, the one thing that I did appreciate about their interpretation of hell, like how the two of them were expecting it and the maps that they drew and how Peters was a pizza anus.
Yes.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
And how it circled that, like that comes back up at the end. Like that was the pizza anus is the shining moment of this book for me. I'm gonna say it, right? You heard it here, folks.
Clip it and send it. The pizza
Yep.
anus, folks.
Yep.
Jeez. What'd you get out of this book? Pizza anus. All
Pizza
right.
anus. I
Cool.
laughed out loud when I read it at the end. I was like, okay, that yes.
All right, fair enough. Speaking of Peter, Alice's traveling companion is fellow grad student Peter Murdoch. What did you think of her academic competitor and colleague?
So I think because we sort of first meet Peter like through her perception of him, at first I was like, whatever. I don't really care. But then we kind of like learn a little bit more about him from, I guess, sort of his perspective. It's not, I feel like it's not really his POV, but it is, whatever. It kind of is. It is
Yeah.
enough. I actually really preferred him to her. He was so much more um like resilient and kind of recognized his self-worth and like um I don't know. I loathe people who are like everything's so easy for me, but and he's one of those people, but he's also very endearing. So, and he made a pizza anus map.
From an academic side, for sure, everything is so easy for him. I did appreciate as we learn more of his struggles and what's going on in his life that um, we learn that that's not exactly the case. I will say, like, both of them seem to be stunted by their genius. Like, uh,
Yeah.
a big thing for me, and I think I put this in spoilers, but they just needed to communicate more. Like,
Yes.
as we get to see what they're
Yes.
going through and everything they're doing, it's like, hey, especially like this is the part I didn't understand. Okay, you plan this trip to hell, and they both have like their little satchels, packs, and
Yeah.
whatever. and you think you've got it all covered. Okay, and then Peter surprises you, and this is page two, where he's like, "Hey, I'm going with you because I kind of figured out that you were researching the thing I was researching. Didn't you notice like the books you were looking for were already taken out, and vice versa?" Um, as soon as you have that, you need to put shit aside and come together. It's like in war, you want to trust the person next to you. You are going to hell. Okay? Maybe put everything else aside and be like, hey, I don't know, whatever the past has been for the next, I guess, 2 weeks we're going to be down here. Maybe you and I should be on the same page. And if that means fucking clearing shit up when we're on the easy level of
Let's do
hells,
it. Let's
let's
just
do
do
that.
it.
Let's like get it in the air because by the
Rip the
time we
band.
get when we go to hard hell, I kind of want to be like on the same page. So that
Yeah.
was so frustrating. And
Es-
go ahead.
Well, especially because they're supposed to be effectively adults. Yes, they're still in school, but like
But
they're
but
not.
they're overgrads or whatever you call it.
Yes, postgraduates.
Yeah.
Um, but they're supposed to be like real thinking adults, and they think so highly of themselves and their skills, and yet can't even have a conversation about just getting shit out in the open, like airing these grievances. Let's like Festivus this shit and get over it. Yeah, that was a Seinfeld reference.
Yeah, I agree. And I think to your point, like we see Peter through Alice's eyes for a very long time.
Yeah.
It almost endeared me more to him because
Oh,
honestly, I did not trust her judgment. Uh,
fair. No,
like
I was definitely suspicious, but I was like, she definitely was painting a picture, and what seemed to be an inaccurate picture. Yes, but like the way that she was doing it, I was like, I can see why maybe you're suspicious, whatever. But then you're the suspicious one,
Yeah,
Alice.
it just felt, and this, while I was writing this up, the word I kept coming back to was flimsy. Like
Mm,
it felt like everything was so fucking flimsy. Their whole feud or whatever you want to call it felt flimsy. Both of their reasons for going to hell for Grimes was incredibly
oh,
flimsy. They both portray it as like we're too far, as I think it mentioned at the on the cover of the book, like we're too far in to change course now. So like our only option, the only way out is through to take from Dante's Inferno. And
nice.
yeah, I know hell stuff, but I don't think that was true. I think you could have found another advisor if you just fucking pulled your head out of your ass and showed that you were the great magician that you were when you first came here. Especially for Peter. Like Peter was, he has like the
So
bloodlines.
skilled.
His parents are both geniuses, and he was a genius from age 8 and whatever. Like you're telling me you can't move on and find somebody else. Like you have to go through with this. That
Especially
was
because, like,
frustrating.
what is Grimes actually bringing to the table other than his name? Like,
Exactly.
I was just about to spoil stuff. He's done some shady shit on like a number of levels.
Yes.
And like, I don't know, just from an academia standpoint, like, sure, it's maybe going to be helpful to get a job, but like, what kind of job are you getting, to your point? And also, like, I don't know, he's just not a good dude.
Yeah. No, it was just frustrating. Again, and like I will say, at least when we finally get Peter's point of view, we don't get
Mhm.
that hero worship
Oh
that
yeah,
Alice is
that was
doing.
very satisfying.
So that was nice and a benefit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just I don't know, man. It was their relationship felt like a crutch throughout, where it was like all we had
Peter
to
and
do,
Alice.
yes, Peter and
Yeah.
Alice, where all they had to do was talk, and we wouldn't
Yeah.
have that talking point. We wouldn't have that moment at the Bridge of Sighs or whatever the fuck it was called.
With what's
Uh,
her face.
yeah, we'll get into that spoilers, but like we wouldn't have all these moments if they just talked.
Yeah.
And in the backstory we get as we get Act 1 in Act 2 and Act 3, we see that there was a good time between them. So it
Yeah.
just felt like, again, we're building up that Croatia moment. And for those of you that weren't here, that's from the people we meet on vacation. Go see the movie now. I'm sure it's great.
It's probably
Um,
better than the book.
I doubt it is. But they were building up this big moment of fracture, right? And I just never, I don't know. It's frustrating when the tropes are so
Heavy.
embedded, so obvious, so like it's not going to pay off. We're using it too much. We're relying on it to be like, this is why this is happening. And going, oh, all these things keep happening to us, but really they wouldn't if we just fucking were on the same page. And again, you're going to hell together. Like, dude, if I'm going to Pennsylvania, I'm going to be on the same page with the person I'm fucking with. So if I'm going to hell, you better goddamn believe we're putting everything aside.
I mean, like, to be fair, um, it wasn't like they both planned to go to hell together. It was like,
Maybe Peter, though. I mean,
Peter,
Peter,
okay, sure,
yeah, for sure.
but still talk about it. That
Just
doesn't
talk about
negate
it.
that you gotta talk about it.
You can do it. And you had, again, it wasn't like their trip to hell was 4 hours. I think it was like 2 to 3 weeks total. Like you had plenty of time while you were not keeping watch and canoodling under the one, again, Peter,
Well, and
why
you
didn't you
had
bring a
like
blanket?
enough time to have really awkward conversations post morning wood that like
I forgot about that. Yeah, that was fucking wild.
it was, but like that's a perfect time to just bring things out in the open, not the morning wood, but the conversation.
Hmm.
And like just just get it out. Just
Yeah.
talk about it,
If you can talk about awkward boners, you can talk about Croatia.
right?
It's very simple, guys.
Right?
So their relationship did grow and change. We'll get into that in spoilers. Before we get to that, we have your get to know your podcaster question. This is a little spoiler-y, so block your ears if you must. But we learn of a pentagram tattoo that Alice has, which gives her the ability to quickly comprehend, store, and never forget all the knowledge she comes across and memories she has since getting it. There are pros and cons to this, but if you had to get a pentagram tattoo that changed you somehow, either mentally, physically, with some ability. What would you want that tattoo to do and why?
Okay, so I'd want a tattoo that would give me the ability or skill, I guess, to quickly and like easily learn languages. Like I wouldn't want to like I'd still need to learn them, like in the sort of traditional way, but I would like be able to do it quickly and retain the information and have like multiples at once because I would love to be a polyglot.
That's a really good one because that it could come in so much handy. It could
Right?
come in so much handy. It could come in handy, and also it's like there are people that actually have that skill that it
Yeah.
just comes easy to them, which
Yeah,
blows me
exactly.
away.
Like I'm not actually asking for like legit magic. I'm just asking for like I don't want to be I definitely wouldn't want to like not forget everything or
Yeah,
like remember everything. But I also wouldn't want to like cheat the system. Like I'd still need to learn it. Like, you know what
yeah.
I'm saying? I wouldn't just like automatically know all languages. I would like need to do the thing.
But it would really make sense. And that's like for her, we do see that where like she can just read stuff, doesn't matter the
Yeah.
language, and she comprehends it. So
Yeah.
you're willing to put in some of the work here, a
Yeah.
good chunk of the work here. You just want to have a little leg up when it comes to remembering.
Yep.
That's
And
fair.
like the easily learning, like, because there's a lot of stuff like with Turkish that I'm learning now ish on Duolingo, like the conjugation, like there's stuff about it that like honestly, like I know English pretty well. It is my literally only language, I guess, if you count Spanish and Turkish as like 0.25, or maybe even less than that. But like there's lots of things about like the structure and stuff that I think would be really interesting to know. Sort of like Babel with like the etymology of stuff. Like similar to that, I think it's helpful to have multiple languages and learning how the grammar and stuff of it works. That's the bit that would be tricky.
I mean, it is wild with how much traveling we do. Like, and it's because of the decisions of our forefathers where English became like the secondary language. So, like, a lot of countries, they make them learn their native language and English, which is fucking insane if you think about it. Because we all bitch when we had to take Spanish or French or Latin, whatever, and we're like, we're not doing that, we're English. And literally all these other countries are like, we do both and we're not douchebags. So,
Yeah.
kudos to anybody listening from afar. Um, I lost my point when I was giving out the kudos. But oh, to your point about like right now you learning Turkish and your fluency, whatever it is with Spanish, like I feel that with Kenya Rwandan because a lot of the things I'm learning is through speaking, right? Like I don't read it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was like typing up my blog, I wanted to use this thing that Sully says, and I Googled it,
And
like
not how
Googled,
you thought it was spelled at all.
not even fucking close. And like it's
Turkish is
really
like
tough
that.
because that's when you learn the other languages. Like in Rwandan, there's no R. Their R's are L's. So
Hmm.
like when we were having a conversation, they were trying to explain to me like, oh, that's a type of build. That's a build. It's a build. And I'm like, what are you saying? And they meant bird. But because they see BIRD, they pronounce it BILD, right?
In Turkish, like regular C is pronounced like a J, and that is like really hard for my brain.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like that would be great to just have that be like, no,
Yep.
I'm thinking this way
Yeah,
now.
exactly. Yeah, that's what I would want.
That's a really good one. I went with one more, a little bit, yeah, a lot more magic based on that. Basically, I would want a tattoo that was like a battery for me because I have a problem where I can sleep anywhere, and
It's wild.
it really sucks when I don't want to sleep. You know, like when I want to stay awake, when I want to whatever, like I want to like be apart, and then you just see me. I can sleep standing up. It's really not that difficult. You'll just be like, oh, there's Russ. Yeah, he's asleep.
It is so difficult
It's
for normal people to
it
sleep in the positions that you fall asleep in.
drives me crazy. So like I would want a tattoo that like would be like, hey, you're at 5% battery. And like maybe there's like a something I could push that's like get me back up to 10, you know, like give me I want to stay awake a little bit longer. Just give me a little bit more juice or I don't want to get like with the jet lag from returning I fell asleep on the couch at like 7 o'clock. And I had to wake up 3 times before I had enough strength to like peel myself off the couch to go to bed because I was literally like, I'm on zero. I slept 20 minutes. I'm at 1%. That's not enough to get up. Like, I just want something that I could have more information about how close I am because there are some nights where I'm like, hey, I'm going. And literally 5 seconds later, I'm sleeping. It's
So
wild.
in the Murderbot series, Murderbot has something called a performance reliability like meter basically, and he'll be like, my performance reliability is that, it like dropped suddenly to like 15%. That's what you need is a
That's right.
performance reliability meter.
Yes. Because yeah, mine drops quite quickly all the time, which is frustrating. And Soonish used to love taking pictures of me just sleeping in random places, especially when I worked the bar where I was like 18, 19 hours a day. Anytime I could catch sleep, I would. So yeah, I would love to change that now that I'm much older and not working that much. So maybe someday we'll come up with the technology. But let us know in the comments that you all use so frequently what you would do, what kind of pentagram tattoo you would want magicked onto your body, and what it would help you, or who you agree with. Do you want a battery to track your progress, or do you want to learn languages? Honestly, as soon as you said that, I was like, that actually would be better. I could handle sleeping whenever if I could learn languages better. But whatever. So this is the part where we're going to move into spoilers. But before we do that, we have your song. It goes like this. This is the part that we're going into spoilers. If you don't know the book, get out. Because this is the part that we're going into spoilers. It's time to learn what all those different layers of hell and like all these random characters that we run into and also our villains that we haven't even touched on yet and all this other stuff and what everything is all about. Because we have Act 2, 3, and 1 interspersed in spoilers.
Wow.
I just think of it and it comes to me and I go. Also, I feel like spoilers are a little long, so buckle up, kids. Alice finds Peter's note and realizes his way to get Grimes out of hell is by sacrificing her. Because of this, she betrays him at the Bridge of Sighs in greed. They are saved from the divine being known as the Weaver Girl and Alice's betrayal when the group is attacked by a bunch of bone minions commanded by Nick and Magnolia Kripke. The Kripkes are also magicians who decided to kill themselves and their child, awkward, to show the world that they are the greatest workers of magic and can return from hell. While in hell, they have been killing sojourners, shades, and shades to increase their power and gather what they need to return to the living. The Kripkes chase Peter and Alice, who are then saved by Elsbeth Bayes. Elsbeth is the shade of a Cambridge student that died many years ago and has spent her time in hell looking for the Dialethea, which is a true contradiction and said to be the only ticket back to the living. Even though she helped them, Alice and Peter decide to try to use magic on Elsbeth to get her to tell them the location of the Dialethea. The attempt backfires, and she casts them off her ship, landing them in the bogs of Wrath. They push on, but in violence, they fall into a trap set by the Kripkes. While they are trapped, the two finally talk. They use the communication, and we learn that Grimes forced himself onto Alice, and when she refused him, he became cold to her, and for months she has been trying to get back in his favor. Peter admits that while he was in the hospital for many weeks battling his Crohn's disease, Grimes stole his research and published it. Because of this, Peter overlooked a careless mistake in the pentagram Grimes created and allowed the magic to fail. He thought it would humiliate the professor, not kill him. Both believe they are at fault for Grimes' death, but while Peter was trying to atone and bring Grimes back, Alice admits her plan is to trap him in a dying body so he would become her instrument for what he did to her. After hours of trying to get out, Peter realizes that he can contradict the logic of the spell enough to get Alice out, but not himself. While she argues with him, he sets her free of the trap, and she listens at a safe distance while the Kripkes kill Peter. That was a wild fucking moment.
It truly was.
Alice is now adrift and begins walking through hell because she has nothing else to do, and Peter's last words were begging her to live for the both of them. Eventually, she runs into another shade named John Gratis, who brings her to the city of Dis. Here, Alice finds countless shades writing dissertations to try and prove they are ready to be reborn. She is overwhelmed by the process and the people, and after almost being trapped in an eternal garden where people give up and become shrubs, she abandons the city of Dis. In reading that to somebody who hasn't read the book, that sounds wild. Back outside, she is being stalked by a large cat, and while trying to decide how to fight it, they are both stuck in another of Kripke's traps. Alice is able to escape, but the cat is murdered. She then creates armor from its bones and decides to face off with the Kripkes when they come to check the trap. Using magic, she is able to kill their horde of skeletons and trap the mother and son in a time spell, and then throws the father into the Leith River, where his soul is dissolved and his being ends. Seeing Nick dissolve, Magnolia carries their son into the Leith as well, knowing that their only future was all together. Alice collapses from her injuries but is picked up by Elsbeth, who returns her to her boat. After more discussion, Elsbeth confesses that she had found the Dialetha a while ago and gives it to Alice so she can negotiate her way out of hell. She then brings Alice to King Yamas' domain, and when Alice begs Elsbeth to join her, she tells Alice she is finally ready to move on. Faced by the Lord of Hell, Alice first asks to see Grimes' spirit. When confronted, Grimes tells her that now they are together in hell, they can study and research magic for all time without worry or their bodily needs. He is frantically trying to convince Alice to give up her life and stay here with him and the Dialetha, but she sees through him now. Using Peter's spell of exchange, she swaps Grimes' soul for Peter's, and he joins her where they share a passionate kiss. She then bargains the Dialetha with King Yama for both of their return to the living world, as well as half the years back that they paid to journey into hell. Because that was a big thing, too, by the way. Going back into hell just for somebody's fucking approval costs you half the years of your life, so...
And they were both like, yeah, no big deal.
No big deal. I don't need those lives. I think Alice was like, oh, what do I want to be like 85 anyway? I don't know. To be 85, girl.
Just be.
All right, let's get right into it. So what did you think, talking of that, of Alice and Peter's reasoning to go to hell and try to retrieve Grimes' soul? Both the original reasons told to us and then the actual ones mentioned in spoilers.
So, like, the original ones fully didn't make sense to me. Like, that's not enough of a reason to pay the cost. Um, yeah, that was lame. So then to discover that there was like a different reason, and she had actually made plans to like trap him and the creepy body, which was gross and girl. Um, yuck. But
Yeah.
also like, why are we not just being truthful? Yeah, I that was a bit of a redeeming situation. I still feel like he's already dead. What do we need to be going to hell for? So like both reasons were, I don't know, not good enough.
Yeah. To be fair, on a few accounts here. One, her idea of like trapping him in the meat puppet, basically. So like the magic backfires, he explodes into many different pieces. They bury what they can. She digs it up and then like stitches it together on a meat ball, quite literally.
Like
Um, yeah,
Frankenstein
she's like, oh, it's got lips and ears. It's fine.
monster.
Nice. Uh, that was wild. So I can understand her desire for revenge on that, and then thinking that if it's, enough of him, she can still get what she needs out of it while being completely in control.
Okay, sure.
I'll give you that. It's still a wild fucking thing. Maybe just like go to that other advisor, Helen, whatever her name was, who treated you
Yeah.
like a bag of shit, but that's because you kind of spit on her and
Yeah,
called
you weren't
feminism
great.
bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you could mend that bridge a lot easier than trying to control a meat puppet that you waste half your life to go to hell for it, literally. So that was still a little weird. For Peter, it wasn't said this in the story, but what I hope was that he found out she was going, and because everybody knows, it's like that fucking
That he
TikTok thing.
loves her.
Everyone knows, everyone's gonna find out, everybody knows that he fucking loves Alice. My belief is that he is going to hell for Alice, not for Grimes, because it does not make sense for why he would be so upset or whatever after Grimes stole his
Yes.
work to be like,
Yes.
I need to free this soul from hell.
I agree completely. I think that Peter's reasoning for going to hell was Alice alone, 100%. And I think he just didn't admit that to her. I mean, like every time they talk about Grimes, he like it's quite clear that they weren't on good terms.
And he like pitted them against each other as they find
Yeah.
out when they finally talk to each other, and how like the approval that Alice always wanted, he was giving to Peter, but he was giving Peter Alice's approval and Alice Peter's approval, like
Yes, he
not
was
to them.
playing the game.
Yeah, he's a huge dick.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Yeah.
Nobody should be surprised. I will say that, what was the other thing? There was a point where when she brings Grimes' soul back, and he talks about how when he was at like that first layer of hell, whatever it
Mhm.
was, like before they even crossed the wall,
Yep.
you kind of see like the upside down world
Yep.
of where they're at. And he mentioned that he was like playing with their dreams, or especially Alice's, like trying to convince her to come. So maybe there was some of that in there too, where she was getting that kind of pull from,
Manipulated.
yeah, still getting manipulated from him. So maybe that played a little bit of a part in it as well. That made it a little less, here's my word, flimsy, but it
Sure.
all felt so flimsy. Again, like, and Alice, like, I feel like we beat over the head the fact that we wanted to point out that Alice was like not suicidal, but pretty close. Like,
Yeah.
didn't really feel like she had a reason to live. And part of her journey in hell was the growth to realize that she did. Like, even like it almost got annoying where she was like, I miss the smell of the breeze. And it was like, okay, Alice, like, come on, like, be a little better, be a little bit more powerful and strong in your own shoes here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So flimsy all around, but I mean, I don't know. It works out in the end, I guess. So let's get on to something else that's totally not flimsy. Let's talk Croatia. What did you think of Peter and Alice's relationship once we got the whole picture?
I mean, I said they both deserve to be slapped.
Nice.
Like very much that like energy of like, but does he like me?
Oh yeah.
Which I absolutely detest. Um, and then to have it be kind of from both sides in terms of like, but I mean, they were being manipulated, so I will give them that. That Grimes was like putting little whispers in their ear about the other one. But like they had so many moments that were really genuine, and then both of them just kind of like dropped the ball. I would say more Alice than Peter. Um,
I don't know because Peter gets sick and then he doesn't want to show
Peter gets,
weakness, but
yeah, that's pretty lame, but also, like you said before, like he's likely lost lots of weight. Like I- she
yeah,
talks so often about how she would be like looking for him and like paying attention to him. So if you're paying so much attention to him, how are you not noticing that he's changed so much physically? Which I assume he has. I mean, like
yeah,
obviously he's been a bit of a twig always. But like if you're that vigilant and you're that observant of Peter in general, why are you not noticing this? And like again, just the looking talk.
yeah.
Like it's not hard.
Yeah, it was frustrating from Peter's point of view because like and I don't have this kind of trauma, so maybe that's on me. But like his story that comes out where he's like, "Oh, I was a sickly boy because he had Crohn's disease his entire life." And they had a birthday party for him when he
Party.
was 8 years old and the whole class showed up,
And
even
he
though
had
he
a
hadn't
great
been there much
time.
or whatever, and it was going great. And then basically he learns that they pitied him. It was like make a wish kind of situation, even though he wasn't dying, but that's how the kids saw it. And because of that, he was like, never again. So I can't show weakness, whatever. Like you
That was a
spent
long time ago, my dude.
that is a long time. That's fucking, you're, assuming
20
25,
something?
26 here
Yeah.
now, you're a fucking person. You're still battling it. I don't know what that entails because I haven't gone through it, but at the same time, like I feel like they both showed each other their vulnerability
Yeah.
as like they talk about like the whole point of this, the Croatia moment is they spent months or
On a
maybe
research
2 months,
project.
I feel like, trying to write some bullshit that happened for Grimes, and like they're working every night together, late hours, trying to put it all together. They share a lot of moments. They share a lot of insecurities. They share a lot of meals. Like they love how each other falls
They
asleep.
spend so much time together.
Yeah, on each other and all this different stuff. Talk about it. And then like for her point of view, for Alice's point of view, she's like, he got so cold after we like passed that in. We no longer had to work late nights. He became cold. From Peter's point of view, his Crohn's acted up. He like was like, I'm gonna fight it on my own or
Didn't want to show
something.
weakness.
And then almost dies. Like the cleaning person saves his life literally, and he spends 6 weeks in the hospital. Um, it just I again, like you were saying, like if you're so in love with somebody or so like paying attention to them, I don't know how you don't see both sides of that. And as we touched on before, maybe before we started recording, maybe while we are doing this, like Alice mentions, as soon as her Croatia moment happens with Grimes,
Hmm.
where he forces himself upon her and she rebukes him before it gets super rapey, but it gets rapey enough.
Hmm.
Uh, he turns completely cold to her, and like because everything in her being is about his approval, she goes down this black hole as well. Like you're telling me neither one noticed each other. Like they tried to sell us on this competition, and we learned that Peter got some fellowship or whatever the fuck. But like at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like you guys were working really well together. Both of you got sick in different. Like Peter got physically sick, she got mentally sick, I would say, and yet you never noticed each other spiraling so fucking hard.
And like Alice's spiraling happened obviously immediately after the incident with Grimes, which Peter was partially witness to.
Mm-hmm.
So like Peter, obviously it's I think understood or expressed that Peter maybe misinterpreted what
Yeah.
happened there. So like granted, but then like all that stuff happens where um Alice is getting the cold shoulder from Grimes, though possibly Grimes was still being manipulative and not saying like not making it seem obvious to Peter that he was giving Alice the cold shoulder. Um so maybe Peter thought it was like a consensual situation. But like I just adults need to adult.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh,
End of sentence.
no, it's true because you would think that Peter, regardless of what he thinks is happening between Grimes and Alice,
Sure.
he's been on both sides of Grimes.
Mm-hmm.
So he should be able to see how he is acting towards her, regardless if he's around the whole time. And that should be enough to realize, again, like, or even just how Alice is. Like,
Yeah.
she is such a fucking I don't know the word I'm looking for, but like she's a canary in a coal mine. Like
Mm.
you know when it's good and you know when it's bad. Like there's
Yeah.
no fucking in between. So either she's singing or she's fucking dead. And the only thing that changes is how Grimes is treating her. So
Yeah.
if she is falling, without a net here, I feel like you could ease. It's been 3, 4 years, whatever it's been that they've been together in this fucking shit.
Yeah.
I feel
Clearly,
like you should
Grimes is the problem.
I feel like you should easily be like, obviously, what I saw, let me see if
Wasn't
it's
what
real.
I thought I saw.
And to that point, fucking Alice is using, like two sentences of dialogue she overhears Peter say to. One was for that fellowship, and I think another one was somebody else. I don't remember, but it was like he says one thing, and she's like, "Oh, he's fucking backstabbing me to all these people after we worked so hard together." And it's like you don't know anything about that conversation.
She did a very similar thing when she found his notebook and
Yes.
thought that he was going to use her for exchange, but like she didn't. It's such an obnoxious tool in storytelling in general, books, movies, whatever, like all of that, where it's the jumping to conclusions gets
Yeah.
you just royally fucked.
It's a jump to conclusions math.
Hey.
Yeah, just fucking talk. Especially, and we learned like Peter
And
was
they
like,
did talk
yeah.
about that, actually, the notebook. So,
Well, Peter is like, hey, that's the only way I found to like get Grimes free. If that's really what we want to do is an exchange spell. And he like even mentions like she sees the spell and it's a spell for an exchange, and then she thinks it's her because literally he wrote like if Alice.
question mark? Like, but that
What
doesn't,
else?
she's interpreting it the way that she wants to,
Right,
basically. Yeah.
right. And if
They
they
did talk about it. That was the one thing they did talk about. That and the boner.
They, they talked about it once they were trapped, and he was like,
Yeah,
"No, the
yeah,
logic doesn't work
yeah,
for me. I can't contradict this because I'm too smart.
yeah.
You're a dummy, so I can free you." Oh, it was ridiculous. Yeah, it just, I don't know. I will give some credence to like when you're in it, when you're the one involved. Sometimes it's harder. Like everybody always says
Can't
that.
see
Like,
the
all right,
forest for the trees.
I can see how much you love each other. You're
Yeah.
like, what? But like, it is tough being the reader where this is
Yeah.
fed to you and being like, hey, everyone
Get
can
over
see where
it.
this
Come
is going.
on. Yeah.
So, and like, dude, I kind of mocked it in spoilers, but when the Kripkes catch up to them and kill Peter in the trap,
Yeah.
right? And she's like, I can't even stay here. I'm like, you're not even like, I don't think you need to hear him being mutilated, but it did sound like they might keep their people, like their captures alive. Like, wouldn't you at least hang around to see if he's like still alive when they pull him out?
That was that was a weird moment where I was like, is she making a decision based in like logic again? Like with the whole maybe he will still be alive, or is she like, oh well,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna like say that it's because I can't handle it, but oh well.
Obviously he's Soup's dead
He
and he
wants me to
told me to
live.
live. So I've
Yeah.
gotta I've gotta start walking through the silt again.
I'm living for Peter. Yeah.
Even though it is just me walking, there are 4 footprints in behind me or whatever in the sand. Yeah. Speaking of them, what did you think of the Kripkes as our villains and true evil of hell?
I mean, so I was like, the Spectre of the Crypt Keys was definitely like creepy and well done. I like how they had like a little army of bone things, and I mean, I don't think it was cool that they killed their kid along with them. Um,
Wild.
but like, there's this moment there at the end where she's like talking about the woman, Magnolia,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
and how she like admired and respected her, and like what a strong female lead Magnolia is, and like the sort of flashback that Alice had of seeing one of their shows and how um
Yeah.
Nicholas
Yep.
was like so in awe and just like kind of the opposite of all the like men in magic except for Peter that she knows.
Yeah.
And I was like, are they really the bad guys? I mean, like obviously they turned bad and they got bad, but like I don't know. I feel like there were clearly some things about them that weren't terrible.
Yeah.
And I wonder if their like thirst for whatever fame, I guess, really muddied the waters. And the longer they were in hell, like the, I mean, again, they killed their kid, and that's really fucked up. So yeah, I mean, you kind of can't weigh that against anything else.
You got to keep family together, Taja.
Yeah, I
Okay.
guess. Um, yeah, I don't know. I kind of had mixed feelings. Like they were creepy, and I think it was like a good tool to have something in hell that was like not just shades that were doing their thing.
Yeah.
So that kind of added to like the anxiety of being there. Um but yeah, I wasn't really convinced that they were like sure they've been a little corrupted, but like I don't know. They kind of had some I don't know, mostly Magnolia. She seemed cool.
That was another point where the timeline kind of fucked with me because I thought they had been in hell for like a couple decades.
I thought so too. But
And
then
then
she
she was
was
like,
like,
I
"Yeah, I saw
saw
them."
them. It's like, what the fuck do you mean you saw them?
Yeah.
Like, did they get to hell and the next day they're like, oh yeah, bone armor, let's fucking kill. Because even
Yeah,
Elsbeth,
it seemed like they'd been like in hell doing this for like a while.
and like same thing with Elsbeth, like Elsbeth
Yeah,
was like what decade maybe or something like that. And it sounded like she like knew to fear them, where it sounded like she came after, but if
it
the
did.
timeline
Yeah,
is right, she came first. I don't
that's a
know.
good point.
Um, I don't know. That was
Because
definitely my
Elspeth definitely ended up in hell before Alice was at Cambridge. But
yes.
then the Kripkes were doing their thing in the upside, the right side up, um, for like a while, I think, before
Yeah.
like it's possible Alice went to see them when she was like an undergrad or
Well, because
something.
I
Because
don't
didn't she talk about Ithaca? Because didn't
yeah,
she go to
she
Cornell for her undergrad?
yeah, she went to Cornell and I don't think she knew anything about magic. Like I think she
No, but
ended
I
up
think she
finding
saw them because they were
maybe
like
that's what it
a
was.
like a vaudeville kind of
But
thing.
that would still be like 3 years ago then. So they like got
Yeah,
real
okay.
dark real quick.
Unless it was the beginning of her Ithaca career, which would have
Maybe.
been
It
5 years ago
still none of it, I don't know.
or six,
It didn't overly work for me either way.
whatever.
Like that part confused me. I liked that the worst thing in hell was the people. You know,
Yeah,
like that seemed like a nice twist where it wasn't some demon doing this. It was literally these people that,
that totally
and
tracks.
again, the confusing part for me was they talk about all the people who have traveled to hell, and how like recently there hadn't been anybody. And like for those who haven't read, the Kripkes were seen as like because they were so flashy with their magic, they were seen more as like vaudevillian,
Yeah.
where it was performative and they weren't respected as magicians, and that's why like they I think of like the Prestige where they're like, we're gonna show you, we're gonna do this trick you don't think is possible, and we're gonna return from hell.
But they
Um,
were actually really good magicians. They just
yeah,
like,
they could have just kept doing magic stuff in the real world. They didn't have to kill themselves and go to hell.
yeah, that
Um,
feels very like they got too caught up in their own like fame and whatnot. And we're like, we gotta do the next big
yeah,
thing.
no, and again, like that's where that memory of her seeing them seems so
Yeah,
weird because it didn't feel like they had that respect. And I'm not saying because Alice respected them, it meant everybody did, but it did feel like that's what they were searching for, and it wasn't working for them. So
right,
it was
right.
again muddied, flimsy. I don't know, but I did like that again. It was a human, or what used to be a human in hell. That was our main villain here, rather
Yeah,
than some demon. Or we see a little bit of it with the gods playing their part with the Weaver girl,
right.
and her bullshit. That whole moment. So we see it on the Bridge of Sighs. I think it was where the Weaver girl is basically like, "Hey, I'm a deity who got stuck here because I fell in love with the mortal man, and then the mortal man when he died, I followed him to hell, and eventually he like passed on without me, and now I'm stuck here. So I don't believe in true love. So pick these two apples." Like, I did not understand that part because
Me
Peter was
either.
like, "Hey, Alice, let's have a powwow.
He talked
Let's
about it.
let's be in love." And then Alice is like, "You choose red if you both choose red, you move on together." if one of you chooses green, the one who chose green gets to move on. The one who chose red is fucking dead forever. And Alice is just like, I don't trust him. Croatia.
The thing that I took away from that moment was that she hadn't actually like consciously picked an
Mm,
apple. She had been like thinking things over, and I think that the Weaver girl like did some
manipulated.
manipulation.
Yeah, for sure. It did seem like there's a little bit of that, especially like, and everybody has buyer's regret, but she's like, oh, Peter, I see you have a red apple there. That's on me.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was just
I liked how upset he was. Like, what the fuck?
I fucking hope so. I'd be upset too. Like we literally
Yeah,
just talked
we
about this.
talked about this. It wasn't
Very
like we didn't
simple.
have the time to discuss.
Like they didn't ask you my parents' name. They were like yes or no, and you said no. You fucking fuck. Like what the fuck?
Oh man.
Um, yeah. So and I liked how we at least saw some representation of that of the deities. We see Cerberus, the three-headed dog, come up at one point, and we see the fires of hell and all that. But really, the worst thing here is a human or what used to be a
Yeah.
human thing. So I liked the face-off that she had with them. Like I liked how Peter's death did serve a purpose in
Yeah.
that it made her find her purpose. Like this
Yeah.
is where the growth really starts accelerating, where she's like, fuck this.
I
Okay.
can do
I'm
this.
I'm not just gonna go quietly into the night. I'm gonna fuck these people up because
Yeah.
they fucked with the wrong person. And obviously it's kickstarted by setting a second trap. Hey, if you fall for one, you might as well fall for two. But again, this is like where we finally see the magic
Yeah.
coming back into play where she's setting all the traps. And again, like you have the great reasoning of the logic where it's like the arrow thing, which I have heard, like an arrow continues halfway to the destination, like, but it
Yeah.
will never actually get there.
Yeah.
And whatever the other ones were, but they were there. I liked that she was able to fight them that way, and it made sense how somebody, especially when most of their army is mindless skeletons, would be able to overcome overwhelming odds. So
Yeah.
um yeah, all that like I think worked out and finally gave us like climactic moments where we spent 300 pages through Act Two, and finally it was like, okay, here's character growth and something
Yeah.
new that's happening.
Yeah. Definitely.
Also to their credit, like the fact that Magnolia, as soon as Nicholas is gone, is like, dude, we're doing this as a family.
Yeah.
You go,
I
I
didn't
go.
hate that. I was
Yeah,
like, okay, I that was like extremely believable to me based on what we knew of them. What
yeah, yeah. I thought that was great. So, while they were monstrous, I don't know. That part worked. That might be my favorite part.
right?
The movies, it seemed like they were like really the linchpin for a lot of different things that happened here.
Yeah.
So moving on, we have our ending. What did you think of that as she confronts King Yama? She confronts Grimes. We get Peter back, all that stuff. What were your thoughts here?
BOWS.
Bows,
Sickly,
bows, bows, bows.
sickly sweet bows. To be honest though, like I didn't hate it. Like the ending was a little bit redemptive, like you were saying for Alice. Kind of like full circled the Kripkes. The Elspeth thing, like they Alice had a chance to kind of make up for being a dick.
Yes, yes.
Which was good. Elspeth, like, power to her for being so benevolent about that situation. I mean, Elspeth was great. I actually really liked her as a character.
She was also like, hey, maybe I overreacted and one of you died because of it. My bad. But also, you guys were dicks. Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, like 100%. But I think like, oh yeah, and we haven't talked about Archimedes, the cat.
Yes.
But yeah, all of that stuff at the end, I appreciated a lot how um she got to choose the deity that she spoke with, and she picked Yama for like all of the reasons that she gave for that was really cool. Um, I I appreciated how strong she felt, and she like read so confident there at the end. Um, I think like you had said that the character arc and the growth that happened post Peter's death was really transformative because she really grew into her own and like knew what her power was, but also she was at a spot then where she was like kind of all bets are off. And she was like ready to deal with Grimes. She was ready to get Peter back. Um, and ready to, yeah, barter. I think that was all really cool. I um love that she kind of manipulated Grimes a little bit at the end too.
Mhm.
Like he thought he could swoop in and like do this, treat her the same way that he'd always treated her, but so that was satisfying.
Yeah, there was that moment too where he like gets right back into her space
Yeah,
as he did the moment he,
the Croatia moment.
yeah, raped her without penetrating, I guess.
Yeah.
Eh,
He sexually assaulted her.
thank you.
Yeah.
Ugh, you said that so much better than me. uh but in an incorporeal form, so like he doesn't have as much presence, doesn't
Yeah.
have as much like literally he can't touch her.
Yeah.
Like I appreciated that moment where it's like it's a very obvious way to show how the tables have turned,
Mhm.
and now she is the one in control. So I appreciated that. Like there's a lot, as much as I struggle bust through some of this and fought with, we'll call it jet lag, through many parts of the big words, the ending did redeem itself for me
Mhm.
because we finally see Alice come into her own. And again, we see it through the battle with the Crypt Keys. We see it with her moment where Gratis like finds the boat and redeems his soul,
Yeah.
where she like witnesses that moment and then she has her time with Elsbeth. Like
Yeah.
she it's building blocks that happen very quickly, but it gets her to the point where like when she gets there and Yama is like, hey, like why'd you even come here? And she's like, oh,
Yeah.
for Grimes' soul. It's like, no, like we've gone
Mhm.
too far. And she
Mhm.
kind of used her meat puppet for Nick Kripke, so I didn't know if that was still an option or not. But I loved the fact that when Nick went into the Leith River and started dissolving, she also went in and her tattoo starts to dissolve.
Yeah.
So she is like freed from that because, as we touched on in the Get to Know Your Podcaster question, for those who haven't read, there were pros and cons to that, where she talks about how, like, picture people with OCD who hyperfixate on like one sentence that they said at some point and they like go over it 100 times because they think I probably did something wrong there. She has that times 1,000. As like every memory she has, she is
Can't
constantly
forget.
second guessing it and nitpicking it. And like she talks about the pressure in her head that has come ever since that moment, like the physical pain involved with it. So I was really happy that for her, she gets rid of that, but also she now has to remember on her own Peter's spell,
Mhm.
where she's like putting it together and gonna screw over Grimes, but she doesn't have the crutch that she's had for so long where she sees something and she remembers it. Like she really has to like put more into it. So the end, that last, I don't know, 40 pages or so, I thought redeems a lot of kind
Yeah.
of the lag that happened in the middle of this story because Alice became the person. I think as readers, we all knew she could be all along. Like if she
Yeah.
just went back to Grimes or like broke to him or whatever, was like, yeah, my body means nothing. I'll stay here with you. And when I die, I'll still be here and we can do magic forever and then find a way back, whatever. I don't, obviously it wouldn't have made sense for her to say that, but I'm just
No.
glad that it was a 180 from that, where
Yeah.
she was like, no, bitch, I'm going to take from you because
Yeah.
you're the one who always takes from everybody else, and I'm going to get what I want for a
Yeah.
change.
Yeah, that was great. And he deserved that because he's a fucking asshole.
Yes, he's the worst in men, which just means he's a man because we are the worst.
Mhm.
Um, and before that, I did appreciate her moment with Elspeth, where, and she talks about this too, with the shades, how much they form into themselves is really based on like their self control or
The
whatever, like how
effort
much
that
they're
they're
putting
putting
into it.
in, yeah.
And like how Elsbeth was like a very solid person, and she shares a kiss with her to kind of like remind her of a human moment,
Mhm.
remind Elsbeth. And um Alice even mentions, even though it's only been like 2 weeks for her, like how affirming that is for her to like
Mhm.
kind of remind her of the mortal world, whatever.
Mhm.
But then when she sees Grimes, like he's only focused on like his facial features and the
He's got
rest of
like
him is,
no lower body.
it reminded me of the dog from A Nightmare Before Christmas, whatever his name, where it's just a cape down below. Like
Well, so she even described it like the sheet ghosts,
Mhm.
which was exactly what I like. That was a perfect way to describe it, actually.
So that even goes to show, like, I think his cockiness and
Oh yeah.
everything else, where he's just like, and I think if we touched on this here, where he's like, I couldn't stay at the beginning. Like, she was like, why didn't you just stay there? We could have found you so easy. He's like, oh, I needed it to be a challenge for you. And in reality, I think he needed her to find the Dialethea, because that's where everything he's basing everything on will come from. So, yeah, the ending, I like, aside from the bows, which happened, I was at least happy that, to
There was
coin a
some
phrase,
growth.
there was growth and it wasn't a bow machine that we've seen in
Yeah.
other books. Like, there was a reason for the things she did. She had to work for the things she did. Like,
Yeah.
if she still had that memory thing and she was like, "Oh, I scribbled out the spell and it was done,
Yeah.
and I got Peter back," whatever. Like, as you said, the fact that she could choose the deity she wanted to speak to, and she chose King Yama because of her familiar history with him, and knowing that, like, of all the different deities Lord of Hell can take on, he is kind of more compassionate towards
Yeah.
mortals and like all that. So, like, normally the Dialethea gets you like a one-way ticket, a one-way ticket out of hell. She like understands that, like, maybe this guy will like understand, and she even uses it to barter, like, hey, we didn't really come here for what we wanted, so
But we
maybe you
got
give
rid of the
us,
Kripke problem for you.
yeah, give us some of that lifespan back. So I thought it wrapped up really nice.
I agree.
I just wish we like cut out some of the mumbo jumbo in the middle.
Yes. Yeah. I agree completely.
So on that note, you brought them up. I did forget to write this in additional spoilers, but let's talk about Archimedes.
Oh my gosh, like what a bow that cat was. Because I don't know what
I don't know what I
I
don't know
think they
what they were.
called him a he.
I think he was
Anyway,
a he, yeah.
um, showed up at like very opportune moments. But also I just love the concept of like a cat being like, what's the difference between regular world and hell? I just go where I want. I do what
Yeah.
I want.
I liked how he was there. Yeah, he was the connection between them, and like they find him in that initial space, and they're like, "Hey, like, find us the people from Cambridge," and he like
Yeah.
brings up those four, whatever they were, undergrad students or whatever, who had
Oh
died recently, and they're like, "Not these ones. We're looking for somebody else."
yeah.
But then, same way, how he would pop up whenever they kind of needed guidance, and I did appreciate how we were given their interpretation of his movements, where it's like, hey, should we do this? And it's like, well, he kind of switched his tail like a no. And like, here he seems like he's trying to get us to move forward. And obviously the affection he had for Elsbeth, because he remembered her as well from her time in Cambridge. Like,
Yes.
I liked that, was a nice little,
High in.
yeah, tie-in added feature, just extra
Yeah.
that we weren't expecting. So yeah, I really liked Archimedes. Did you have anything else on Elsbeth that we didn't touch on as far as her situation?
Um, no, not really. Other than it was cool she could turn herself into butterflies.
Yeah, crazy. And like that little touch at the end where like the butterflies were on the door coming out of
Yeah.
hell. I just liked how she was. I think she gave Alice hope of what she could be, and obviously
Mhm.
Elspeth did not have that hope in the mortal world and kind of found herself down in hell. So I like that she's showing Alice that, like, find it before it's too late kind of situation is
Yes,
how I
she's
took it,
a good mentor.
for sure. The only other thing I had in additional spoilers we kind of touched on, which was the double Croatia.
Mm.
Was there anything else you wanted to touch on that, either with Allison Grimes or Allison Peter, as we learned the true story of what happened there?
I don't think so, other than I'm like a double Croatia is the perfect term for it. Like it just if you're gonna Croatia, please just do it just
Single
one.
Croatia only, folks. Come on.
Yeah, like that, yeah, that whole concept of like talking about it without talking about it or bringing it up and like dangling it like a carrot on a
Yeah.
stick is obnoxious. So yeah, wasn't a fan of that.
I like the other way around, where like I like it when us as readers know something that the
But
characters,
the
but if
yes.
the characters know something we don't, and we're just like using that as a crutch for way too long,
Me
yeah,
too.
super frustrating. And to go
Yeah.
through that with two different situations for our main character,
That was
literally,
bad.
like we didn't have a ton of characters in this, and the
No.
two other main one, our two Bs here, she had a situation with both, so it
Yeah.
was like let's get past that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, did you have anything else for additional spoilers you wanted to touch on?
No.
I think we covered most of it. We did skip over some of like the city of Dis and all that, but in the
Well, but
end,
that was a side quest that was completely unnecessary.
it was a side quest. My friend Argo does not approve of those.
No.
So that means we're going to move on, which means we're moving out of spoilers. Moving out of spoilers. We're not yet done with the book. We have to give this our grade, which is done with our D&D grading system. So 1 is bad, 20 is good, and then we add or subtract a characteristic, modifier, ability, or skill from the game Dungeons and Dragons that we think best fits the book. We alternate every episode, so this time it is my turn to go first. And I will say through this discussion, my grade has dropped. Ba-ba-ba-bum. So for me, I was originally going to give this a 13. I thought this was a solid like 3.5 stars. But the more we've talked about it, I see that number dropping. So for me, my dice roll is going to be an 11. Because I think I'm going to give this a solid 3 stars, which means going back and fixing my Goodreads review. Um, I did appreciate how we jumped right into what I will call Act Two from page 5. We went right into hell. We didn't deal with any of the backstory or character building or all that stuff. Unfortunately, what that did was it reared its ugly head as we were moving forward in our story, as Act One was now chopped up and spread out between Act Two and Act Three, where we're learning about our characters, where we're getting those weird in between chapters of italics where we're explaining our magic system, because that just felt a little choppy. And like anytime I come to that stuff, I get very annoyed. Like I want my story to flow. And when you're doing that, even if it's like there's been some books where it's like a page and I'm like, okay, that's fine. But like anytime you're doing that, I feel like it's just like it wasn't as well thought out as I want. And not an author, so I don't know how the fuck I would do it either. But it does seem like one of those things where you're like, oh, you need to know this. I don't know how to tell you this, so here it is.
Yeah.
And again, getting back to the comments we had about Babel, which was very similar, it does seem like if there's a 5 point word, she's going to use it. And that doesn't mean that you're going to understand it all the time. At least, again, not for me because I'm a dummy. Not an author, definitely a dummy. So it just felt like there were times in this story where it was showing off, where it's like, look at the research I've done. Look at me explain hell through Socrates' eyes and Plato's and Dante's Inferno and Virgil's here and all this. And I was like, okay, I just tell me your story. Okay, because well, your two characters had to do all that research to go into hell. I don't. Like this is a first
Mhm.
time for me kind of situation, and that definitely took away from it because again, you're reading it and you're getting bogged down with vocabulary.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, cool. I feel like we could have just used like visitors, like let's just come on, keep it a little bit more simple here. So, yeah, 11 for me. I will say the double Croatia situation, as I've touched on way too much. The fact that I felt like their reason for going into hell was very flimsy. The like dispute between our two main characters was super flimsy. It just felt like I reading like sometimes this is what happens with the podcast books where when I do the research for the rundown, I'm like, oh, this actually makes sense. Okay, you were getting your doctorate at Yale and you're like, hey, academia is hell. Let me put it into terms of hell and academia. That makes a lot of sense. I can understand where you're going here. I
Yeah.
just feel like your relationship suffered a little bit for that, and didn't work out as well as you thought. As we touched on, the Kripkes, I thought were a great idea. Like again, a lot of really good ideas.
Hmm.
It just felt like a little bogged down, a little too much here. So for me, I'm going to give this a +1 in insight. And instead of insight checking somebody else, I think Alice insight checked herself. And her
Mm.
character growth, especially again, those last 40, 50 pages, I thought redeemed this book so much. Where
Yeah.
yes, we toiled a lot, but at least all that toiling taught her something about herself. And she's still young, even with 3/4 of her life left or whatever. She can figure out how to use what she learned here to be a better person, hopefully. So, um, if we went through all this and she didn't change, she didn't grow, this book would be catastrophic for me. So I was very happy that she kind of became the character I think we wanted her to be from the get-go. So
Yeah.
overall for me, that is a reduced 12, but it is still a 12.
I am also giving this a straight roll of 11. Um, I think for many of the same reasons that you said, I went into this how it started thinking like, oh, we're jumping right in. That means that we're going to set a really fast pace, and it didn't. The main character in Alice, I just like couldn't get behind until the last like 40 pages. Um, Peter was great, but also for a good chunk of the book, he wasn't there. I'm not a good chunk, but he, you know. Um, but their relationship and the reasons for being in hell, and again, I'm going to use your term of flimsy, like just not convincing for me.
Yeah.
And so it kind of made the whole thing fall a little flat. Um, I agree that the presentation of the world and the magic system wasn't always delivered well. Um, and it bogged things down. It made me sleepy often when I was reading, and that is why I'm giving it a +1 for Constitution, my own Constitution, for powering through and not fully falling asleep, just getting droopy-eyed enough to be like, set this book down. Um, and yeah, I think really cool concepts, maybe a little lacking in the delivery and the sort of character creation. Granted, character growth did happen, which we can't always say for books like this that we read where the character is not that great to begin with and stays not that great. So I guess that's something. Yeah, so that's a 12 total.
Fair enough. I do wonder if we had read Babel for this, how we would have graded it. I think it
Yeah,
probably would have maybe been, I don't know, just off the cuff because I didn't think of this beforehand. Like maybe like a 16, where like it was definitely a stronger story, but maybe it's also more just being more interested in the etymology, where like the research doesn't like it comes across as something that you need to know for the magic, So like you feel
it
better.
works better.
You're like learning, whereas this
Yeah,
just kind of felt like I'm yelling fucking facts at you and fucking retain them. I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, so yeah, so overall, 12 and a 12 equals 12. So that's going to be a 12 overall for this book. Once again, it was Katabasis by R.F. Kuang. You can find it anywhere. She is quite literally a New York Times bestseller. So if any of that interests you or you want to argue our opinions, feel free to do so. But on that note, we move away from the book. And moving away from the book, we aren't finished yet. As we get into our segments, we're going to start with one that sometimes we skip, and that is what we missed. Is when I was listening to, or when I was editing the last podcast, I kept saying, "Oh, I had a point," and then I forgot it. Oh, I had a point, and then I forgot it. I remembered and I wrote it down as I was editing it.
Yay.
And I started off this sentence by saying that I remembered what I kept remembering and forgetting when it came to the Academy for Liars. So, if you remember, Lenin goes back in time to confront Benedict.
Mm-hmm.
And when she confronts Benedict, she ends up killing him and then going back through her gate to present
Mm-hmm.
day. The thing that I didn't understand was Dante is waiting for her when she returns. She's a ball of sadness. She's like a mess because she just killed Benedict. And he comforts her while being surrounded by all of the research her sister did about how much of a piece of shit Dante is. And it is never brought up.
That's hilarious.
Like that moment, again, that book made no sense. We were very hard on it anyway. But that moment makes even less sense to me. Like, would you not, as a person, be like, hey, it really looks like you paid somebody to
What's
dig
up
into
with
my
all
shit.
this?
Like, what the fuck? And so you're like, oh, did you just kill Benedict? Did you just kill him? Oh, it's okay. Wild.
That is
Anyway,
wild.
that is what I kept bringing up. I wrote WTF like 4 times as I wrote
Amazing.
in the thing because, but whatever. Go back to listen to episode 117 if you want to know what the fuck, because I'm sure I said it plenty of
And to
times
have
there.
us tear that book apart.
Oh, so bad. And moving on. So we get to our normal starting place, which is current selection, Taja. What else have you been getting into or reading in the last few weeks?
Okay, so I finished books 3 and 4 of the Immortal series by Tamara Pierce again. Again, fun to do. I've never listened to the audiobooks before, so it was read by Tamara Pierce and then it's like a full cast audio for all the voices. So it was really fun. And I love those books. The story's great. And then I listened to the autobiography of Catherine Janeway, which is obviously like a freaking Voyager book, but it was really cool because it was read by Kate Mulgrew, and I just Captain Janeway's the best, and Kate Mulgrew is amazing, and it was just really fun. I love the world of Voyager, so like kind of coming back to that in like a autobiography kind of way was neat because she was like going over her life and like her time on Voyager, and it was just really cool. I love a good fake autobiography. And then I just finished this morning Murder by Other Means, which is a John Scalzi book. Angie will be proud of me. I think she's recommended him a bunch of times. But this is the second book, and I did listen to the first one. It's read by Zachary Quinto. Um, and they're in the Dispatcher series. So it's like sort of present day Chicago. And a number of years ago, something happened in the world where if you're murdered, you don't actually die. You just like get transported back to like a place you feel safe. You don't have any of your clothes or
Yeah, I
belongings.
remember you talking
About
about
the
that.
first one.
Yep. Yep.
The second one was actually really fun. It was like more like mystery stuff was happening. Very funny and entertaining and like very quick. It was like a 6 hour book. Uh,
Nice.
aka 3 hours if you listen at the speed that I listen at. Um, and then I just started listening to, because you lent it to me, A River Enchanted.
Yeah.
And I like listening to it because it's read by a Scottish woman, obviously.
Nice.
Um, so I'm gonna try to listen to as much as that as I can on my free Spotify situation, and then maybe finish up the book so I can bring it to you at spring break.
Nice. Many things. One, on John Scalzi, I will say there is a book that I have that I've been looking for a second copy to give to you that Angie has recommended for us to read to the book to the
Is it a
podcast.
John Scalzi?
Yeah, it's Old Man's War, I think, or something like that. I
Okay.
was trying to make it a surprise book, but it is surprisingly hard to find. As far
Oh,
as like locally, I can find it
yeah.
online easily.
Okay.
But that's one that I think we'll cover at some point. So,
Mm.
two on also the Scalzi, Zachary Quinto,
Yeah.
chef's kiss. I
Yeah,
mean,
he's
that
great.
man,
Yeah.
so great. As far as River Enchanted, when I was getting ready for Africa, I like download a bunch of books on the Kindle so I don't have to carry physical
Yeah.
copies. And I grabbed the second of that series. I think it's only a duology. I didn't read it yet. Um,
So, is
but I'm
this not the book that you had told me about that Amanda recommended to you, or like that you read that Amanda loved and you didn't like, that was like water based? This is there was like some book that was like very like lyrical and like sound like you didn't like it, but Amanda loved it.
Oh no, that's not this book.
Okay.
No, this was I think she had read it too, but that was just by happenstance. This was
Okay.
one I think I found it at the my swap shop or
Okay.
something when I came across this. But yeah, no, this one's very interesting. That the lyrical water one, I forget the name of it, but that was the one she gave me for Christmas, which was just
Okay, yeah, and you didn't like it.
did
No, I
not.
was like, it's weird that he wouldn't like this. Like, so far it seems cool. Like,
Yeah, no, I did enjoy that. Like I had heard mixed things about the second one. I think it's only a duology, and you'll see like when you get there where it leaves off is like
okay,
I think it could have been a
a
singular
single,
story, or whatever, a standalone. But yeah, it
yeah.
did seem like they just kind of, I don't know, stretched it. But thankfully, only did two, not to three. For me, I finished, I was just checking to make sure. I don't think I talked about this, but I believe after our last recording, I started off by finishing Trickster's Queen,
Oh
which is
yeah.
also by Tamara Pierce.
Yep.
I did think that she landed the plane very well on that. Again, doing a duology, not a trilogy, I think
Yep.
worked out really well. I enjoyed where our story ended up, and I think like it was one of those situations where, as the reader, you kind of saw where it was going before our main character did. Like our main character, kind of believed she was going back to her old life, and it was like,
Right.
"Girl, they need you here. Stop tripping." So I was glad like that worked out,
Yeah.
and everything. Like it was. I enjoyed that story. It definitely was a lot better than the Becca Cooper series.
Mm.
Again, that kind of fell off on the last book of the
Mm.
trilogy, unfortunately, which brings up my next talking point, which is, well, I was away. I read the full first trilogy of the Red Rising series by Pierce Brown.
Yeah.
Um, and this, so there was a point in, what is it, Morning Star,
Mhm.
where I like put the book down and I was pissed. And it took me, and I was stuck on a fucking plane. So I think
Mhm.
I watched something for 2 hours. And I was like, okay, I'm going back in. I had to like reason it in my head to be like, no, he wouldn't do this. It was literally the same thing as Becca Cooper, where it was like this character had been this way the whole time, and then suddenly this thing happens and they change, and it's like, this is not the character. Why did you change this character? It makes no fucking sense. I'm very upset. So then reading it, I realized I was right and the author was also right, but made me feel like I was wrong for a while. Um, I like Red Rising. I can understand why people are so in love with
It's
it.
so good.
Such a unique, maybe
Hmm.
unique's not the right word. I'm sure people think about like class structure and all that, but like such an incredible idea. Ran right through it. The
Yep.
second book, Golden Sun, very similar.
Yeah.
Ran right through it. Morningstar, I will
I
say
struggled with Morningstar too.
the other thing I struggled with too was it felt like, and especially knowing, like, I don't know if there's a break and then we're getting like four, because I know there's 4 through 6 too. Like, I don't know if that's still following
There's a
Darrow.
gap in time.
Okay, that does make some sense because I can see where it left off. There could be
Yeah.
some complications moving
Yeah.
forward. But like with Morningstar, especially, I felt like we were just doing the same thing over and over again, where it's like, okay, this is, hey, this guy's still here, and like kind of George R. R. Martini,
Mhm.
although he does well at playing both sides, it did feel like we are like, oh, we have so much more of like the good guys, the rebels, that I can keep killing off them, but
Right.
somehow the villains will escape or we won't kill them when we can. So that was like kind of frustrating as you get to, and again, I'm reading them straight through. So like reading it into the third book, it's like, this is happening again? Okay, this is kind of annoying.
I'm trying to
Uh,
think which death you're upset about.
so the thing I was upset about was his shadow. Do you know who I'm talking about? Darrow's shadow, that whole situation, trying to give it away without giving it away. Give it away,
Yeah,
give it away, give it away
it's
now.
like it's been enough time and there's I read them all or
Okay, if you haven't read Red Rising and you want to skip ahead of 1 minute, right now. So, in Morningstar, when they're gonna release, I already forgot his name, but like the guy who was a gold that said he was his brother, who was like the Death Knight thing, whatever, and then he
yeah.
like turns and he kills Severo, and like
Yes.
and then in the long run, it all is a ploy where Severo's not really
Yes.
dead and all that stuff. But when they
Yes.
killed Severo, I was like, fuck everything.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? Because we had already lost Ragnar or whatever, like the giant
Yes.
motherfucker. And I was like, why are we just killing all his fucking awesome friends? So
Yes.
upsetting.
Yeah, the Severo death was rough.
Yeah.
Death was rough.
So I like literally it took me a movie on the plane to like talk myself down to be like, I don't think he did that. No, he plays tricks. Like it's okay. But like I was because I was reeling from Ragnar.
Yeah.
For sure. Because that guy, oh dude.
Oh,
Ugh,
yes. No,
so beautiful.
the characters he does are
Yeah.
so good.
And like I appreciate, I liked the growth of Darrow too, like where he like realizes, like I forget where it is, if it's in Golden Sun or if it happens in Red Rising, where he realizes like EO is not as he remembers her
Yeah.
flaws too.
Yeah.
You know, she wasn't this perfect painting that
Yep.
everyone wants to put out and all this stuff.
Yep.
But no, I thought it was great. I was really excited that I read. Like, this was the perfect opportunity to do that. But
Good.
they're not super long, but because they were long enough, that's where I brought Katabasis with
Oh.
me on the trip. And then I was like, well, this is the original trilogy. I've got to finish it. I started
I mean, they're
Morningstar.
that good.
I
Yeah.
started Morningstar way too late. And I was like, I'll read it on the plane. And then I slept for like 5 hours in the first plane. I was like, oh shit. Gotta read these books. So yeah, no, I'm glad I read it. I wish like Red Rising would have been a great book to read for the podcast.
It would have, yeah, that would have
Been
been
out too long. Maybe your
yeah.
next one, Pierce. So, and now I'm reading that book I talked about a couple podcasts ago, Beauties, which is the untold stories of hockey's greatest players or whatever, by James Duthie. That was one. I bought it for Sully, and then I was like, I might as well read it first. It's unfortunately right now I'm like really feeling a sci-fi kick. Like today, I was like taking a break from what I've been working on for camp, and I was like, I could really like just I want to dive into a world, and instead I'm like, this is what happened when I fought Wayne Gretzky, which is just for me. But it's fine. They're quick vignettes. It's fine. So yeah, I will finish that off and then hand
Maybe
it
you
off.
could make that your bathroom book, Russell, and you could
I
promote.
don't do that. I refuse. Although it would be good because they're like 4 to 5 pages each.
That's
really
perfect. That's a
I
perfect
know.
bathroom book.
And you know, I don't know. I'll get through it. I'll just push right through it. I just will. Because that's how I am. So moving on, we get to random recommendation, and this is one that Angie recommended to us. Hi, Angie. I picked it up. I wanted to make it a podcast book, but like many of her recommendations, the boy is chonky. So it is I Am Pilgrim by Terry Hayes. It is big guy. But I will get to this at some point. I have so many like hopes, dreams, and wishes for this year that I haven't even started yet, that it's like, I'll get to it eventually when I get to it. But it was funny because I was going back through our WhatsApp conversation about this book, and she was like, I don't even know how to like describe it. And I was like, well, here's how Google does. So here's a mixture of Google and Angie for those of you. So it is I Am Pilgrim by Terry Hayes. It is a crime novel, spy fiction thriller with a bit of time travel. This is, let me just read what I just said. This is another recommendation from our friend Angie, who said it was long, but very engrossing and will leave you wanting more. It takes a bit to process, but once you do, it really hits you. Unfortunately, the sequel does not stand up to the first book, which is also their debut novel, but this is one that should jump to the top of your TBR. So if any of that sounded great to you, and she mentioned that many people she knows has read it and just like ravenous for more. Again, it is I Am Pilgrim by Terry Hayes. I'll get back to you on that at some point. Maybe this year. We'll see how. I still want to like start the Mistborn series, and it's just
Ooh, boy.
That's chonky boys as well.
Yeah.
So now we get to our final piece of business, which is what's on the next episode, and this I kind of touched on to begin with. Because of Memorial Day weekend, which we will be together, but that means we will not be recording because we got other things to do, folks. The next episode will once again come in 3 weeks to make up for that to you. We are going to again tackle a chonky boy. This is another one that I found in my random research of like, hey, I think Goodreads says these are good books, and hopefully it is. So the novel we're going to read for next time is Betty by Tiffany McDaniel. It looks like this. It does have like the nice weird edges on it. Love that for me. Yeah. The thing I'm going to steal from the jacket is a stunning lyrical novel set in the rolling foothills of the Appalachians about a young girl and the family truce that will haunt her for the rest of her life. Now, this is technically a fiction, but it is based on the life of the author's mother. So there is some nonfiction mixed in here as well. There's some indigenous stories involved with it as well. So quite a few different things that we're interested to get into. So again, it's Betty by Tiffany McDaniel. That will be on the next podcast, which means this podcast is done. So thank you for hanging in there with us. Thank you for sticking with me through my incredible spiel about Rwanda. Google us, you'll find us anywhere. And also our conversation about Katabasis. So that means this is the end of this episode, and this has been one 118th, my God, episode of the ABC Pod, the Adult Book Club with Tasha and Russell. Keep